I love it. Like, one time I did one, it was like 15 seconds. I'm like, that's too long. 5 minutes to the point. I love it. And for editing purposes, it's easy for me. So, welcome
Yeah,
back, everyone, to my series where I'm talking to 25 college football teams that I am ranking and my top 25 whenever I do my list. Now, the way that I'm going to release this series is going to be in the order of how my top 25 ranks. So the 25th team is going to release on August 1st, and then we're just going to continue it on down until the first place team releases on August 25th, and then that leads us right to football. So this is basically like a countdown with Flawed as we get
yeah,
into the season. And I thought it would be cool to like do my own top 25 list, but also involve the fans, because I feel like I think I know about Alabama, right? I watch your channel, I watch stuff, I see
yeah,
articles, know nothing. And so it's like helpful. Also, I think I know how I'm going to release this, but obviously, once I'm talking to fans and getting like your take, because I think I've tried to pick fans that I think are going to be honest about their team, and it's
yeah,
important for me to get that. And so that is why we're doing this. That is why we're here. So we're here to talk about all things Alabama. I'm also learning about the SEC as I talk to like different fans. So
yeah.
that's
It's
cool for
different,
me.
right? It's different. The
Yeah,
SEC is
I love
different.
it. I love it. So if you want to just like introduce yourself, let us know whatever it is you want us to know. Obviously, all your channel stuff will be tagged in the description, Twitter, all the things, Twitter X, whatever we're calling it this year. And yeah, so if you just want to introduce yourself and then how long you've been a Bama fan, if I can call them Bama, because I don't think I've ever called them Alabama, but whatever. And then yeah, we'll just start there.
Okay, so yeah, welcome. Thank you for having me on. First of all, when you hit me up with the collab info, I was definitely down to do it. Saw some of your content. Love the energy you bring. Love the
Thanks.
delivery on everything. Love the appearance. So was definitely down to get on. But a little bit about myself. I go by Smoot. Coach Smoot is what everybody knows me as. I do have some experience coaching 6 years, both middle school and high school level, football, basketball.
Bless you. Oh
Um,
my goodness.
Won state championship under my belt as a wide receiver
I
coach
know
slash
that's right.
assistant offensive coordinator. Georgia won a gap association. Y'all know, go check it out. But yeah, we tagging a little something. But for the most part, I've always been a Bama fan since day one. Kind of born into it, no choice. Didn't even know there was a different college football teams for the longest. As a child, I just
Yeah.
thought it was just Alabama. So military brat for the early stages of my life, up until like age 10, 11, before we
Okay.
settled back down in the South. So that's really when I started getting a true feel for what SEC football was like, being an Alabama fan and understanding what the rivalries between Alabama, Tennessee, and Auburn, Alabama, and Mississippi State and Alabama during that time. It was like a lot of big games during that time when I first got back in the South. So once I got that air back in my nostrils on a daily basis, it was kind of hard to evade just the culture that you get sucked into as a SEC fan. So that's just basically how my college football fandom came about, and then just to be pushed into the industry, or kind of snatched into the industry, probably about 4 years ago now. As a call in talk voice personality, and now
Yeah.
you see what we're doing on the Coach Smoot Network and for Alabama football and high school recruiting across the nation, and it's a great thing to be a part of. So I'm excited to
I
be
love it.
here and kind of dive into this talk about Alabama football being so close to the program. Is going to be a good conversation.
I love it. I also love, so I tell people this, but before I bring people on, I usually like watch some content. And so I've watched some of your content. I was thoroughly impressed to see that Texas was top 5 of most talented teams in the SEC. So
Oh
thank
wow,
you for adding us to the top 5. I
yeah.
appreciate that. Most
I
teams
mean,
hate us. Like they
I
don't want
just
to give us any credit. They're like,
right,
oh
right.
God, this Texas team. But like, so I appreciate you just being like, hey, Texas, number 5, whatever.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
thank you.
yeah.
And then I think the other thing is too, I just want to call out here as of this recording, like Alabama is on like a recruiting heater. Like
Yeah, yeah. Watch
it
out.
seems like
Hey,
every 2 minutes or something, it's like Alabama gets this guy, Alabama gets this guy.
watch
So
out.
like shout
It-
out.
It's, it's not it's not nearly done, and that's one thing
There you
I'm
go.
excited about at this phase of my career. Just being plugged in on that aspect of it. 24 was kind of like I kind of got pulled in with Ryan Williams and those guys, and being in that
Yeah.
circle. Then 25, just personal connections, making it to a lot of those high school games with a few of those top end recruits. And then this year it's kind of like I'm kind of in the family right now, so it's
Love it.
fun. It's fun right now. I didn't do it like everybody else, and I'm blessed right now, and like connected with personalities like you is gonna be crazy. You just see how
I
this
love
thing
it.
just continues to transpire. I told you over the phone, you got something special brewing here, and you got the personality and the image and everything for us. So I'm excited for you.
I appreciate that. I appreciate listen, if anybody from Alabama decides they want to commit to Texas, you just let me know. And
Listen.
Hi, if you haven't already, don't forget to hit that like button. Make sure that you're subscribed to my channel and turn on those notification bells. And if you're filling up to it, don't forget to leave me a comment in the comment section below.
I'll get it. I'm gonna route you in. I'll
get something nice set up for him. No, because then people are going to be like, what do you know? What do you know? Like, I don't want that. Like, I'm good knowing things and nobody knowing that I know.
It's a different type of energy. You know, people like you 1 minute when you're right. And then if you don't let them know, because, you know, it's got to be presentation.
It's not great news. Yeah. You're like, I know he's not picking us, but I don't want to tell you he's not picking us. I got to wait till he doesn't pick us. And then when he doesn't pick us, I'm like, he's a really great kid, though. His parents are nice. I really love him, but, you know, he wants to go somewhere else. I love that. So, okay, let's talk about this Alabama team. What does success look like? I mean, let's just call it what it is, okay? For 20 years, it felt like Alabama reigned supreme. It was just what it was. Alabama was college football. Nick Saban was college football. It is what it is. If anybody disagrees with me, that's your own issue. It is not a me issue. That is just what it was. And then it was like, and then people were like, NIL's coming, Alabama's going to fall off, all this and things are going to happen. It really didn't happen that way. Nick Saban decides to step aside after he stepped away. Then the season happened this year. Mm-hmm. New coach, new everything. How are you all feeling? Like, how are you feeling? Like you're in like a washing machine where you're like, hold on, or like, where are you feeling before we get into like your season thoughts?
So there was, and I think I can speak with the fan base because I was on a platform where we were averaging, you know, thousands of viewers during that Saban retirement. I mean, 8,000, 12,000 live viewers for 7 to 12 hours. So I got to get both ends of the spectrum. Okay. You had the people that were in disbelief. You had the people that were hopeful. Nobody was ever confident in that transition. And even when Kalen DeBoer came on staff, it was a different type of energy, like a tipping of culture. Clash, if you would say, and I think as everything started to progress and you start to find out kind of like what his lineage was and his history, you kind of felt a little bit more confident. But the turnover rate for the amount of talent that Alabama lost and everything, it had you worried. But then you start next season and you get that big win against Georgia. You know, you got hope then. You know, Georgia was supposed to be the team. It was supposed to be Georgia, Texas, you know, Florida, not Florida State, but Ole Miss was supposed to be right there in the mix. Nobody was expecting Alabama to be, you know, or be able to maintain 6 or 7 wins realistically. Like people were really cutting Alabama short. And I don't think people realized that Kalen DeBoer had been doing better production and better transitional jobs with less talent. And it was just going to be a matter of who can buy in. And I think this year, coming into this season, that's what there's not a question of. You know, you look at the type of transition that happened after Coach Saban, both staff and player personnel. A lot of your administrative staff and recruiting staff was able to be carried over from the Saban era. You add a few tweaks and hitches there with Courtney Morgan coming on and really spearheading it. Guys like Jatavius Sanders and Ha Clinton Dix are guys that are familiar with the climate of the SEC and how to recruit in that aspect. So you got Kalen DeBoer set up pretty well. And then, you know, people want to give Coach Saban credit for being around, but truth be told, Coach Saban does not poke his head in there and bother anything that Kalen DeBoer has going on. The most talking he'll do is maybe with Coach Kane Womack, who's, you know, is a defensive student, a defensive-minded personnel, the defensive coordinator for Alabama. So he's definitely going to poke at one of the matriarchs of defensive schemes in college football. So,
yeah.
So
and can I just say, I'm gonna just keep it real. If Nick Saban was a part of the University of Texas football and he didn't poke his head in and say something every once in a while, I would feel offended. So like, I expect him to, like, if he didn't do that, I would actually be like, what the hell is wrong with this coaching staff? So like, I think, people blow things way out of proportion. I'm like, wouldn't you want that? Wouldn't you want like a little, you know, hey, this is what I saw.
and I think that's what kind of helped alleviate the transition, because Saban wasn't as involved as people would like to believe. And he made it public. He was very unbiased in some of his college game day appearances. It kind of helped with the transition. And Kalen DeBoer even spoke on, you know, the sense of having an opportunity to prove himself, and it was not like you have to uphold a standard. We just want you to bring your best foot forward. And this year, transition, you said, how do I feel about this year? I really think this team is probably a lot more dangerous than people want to give them credit for. You look at the amount of production returning on the defensive side alone, you're talking about 82% of your production. I mean, snaps returning, 82% of those snaps returning, the other almost 20% that transition to the NFL or hit the portal were not guys that were impactful minutes or impactful snaps. You're talking about less than 300 snaps between 11, 12 guys. That's not really impactful. And we're talking about veteran guys that had to miss time last year. And a lot of these guys that you're seeing step up on the defensive side are going to be there. So from a fan perspective, defense, we're excited. Offensively, we're excited about the quarterback battle. Ty Simpson is the golden child, the guy that we've been waiting to kind of just finally emerge. We thought he would get his chance last year when Jalen Miro struggled. No longer the storyline. Now we're trying to see if he's going to be able to fend off the true freshman Phenom and Keelan Russell, 5-star quarterback. I believe was the best quarterback in that draft in that class. I don't care, and it ain't a Bama thing. When I turned on the film in 2024, before Alabama even jumped on that spearheaded that recruitment push, I have been on Russell for a minute, and Duncanville has always pushed out crazy talented athletes, at the quarterback position. I think this is the first one we've seen from them in over 15, 20 years that's a true pure quarterback and has really set the bar for the next level of athletic quarterback to come out of the state. So Alabama's feeling pretty confident right now. A lot of high hopes, a lot of, 10-plus win expectations. Anything less than 9 wins would be a failure to rescind from last year. But if you can maintain and you got to make the playoffs this year, that's a simple expectation. But from a fan standpoint on both ends of the spectrum, I think everybody's kind of back on that even level.
Okay. Was it Ryan Williams who said that was the first time Alabama's lost more than 10 games? And I don't even know what he said, but just as soon as he said that, I don't even know what the end of the sentence was, but I just started to think that's crazy.
Yeah. When in a while when we haven't won 10 games in a season.
I don't think people realize that are just now coming into college football. Obviously, Coach Prime brought fans, and then just the churn of the world brought fans. I don't think people realized the era we experienced when it was here we go.
It was one of those things where for 17 years, Coach Saban was the head coach at Alabama for 17 years. And Alabama has always been relevant in college football. It's been through spurts and times, but you got to think the 90s was good to Alabama. The early 2000s, not as much. And when Coach Saban came in, it was right off the back of kind of some NCAA violations and things of that nature. And he was able to come in and immediately, restore what Alabama was known for. It's not foreign to Bama fans to be at the top of college football, but for that extent and amount of time, that nobody had seen that before. So Kalen DeBoer, not necessarily has big shoes to fill, but there is a standard. There's an expectation for the common air fan, like you say.
I love it. Were you around for the 2009 Texas-Alabama championship?
Yes, I was.
Did you think that Alabama was going to lose that game before the game started?
I didn't. I did not. I felt like in that game, Texas was going to see a defense they hadn't seen all season. Okay. I believe they were Big 12 at the time, the conference. Big 12 wasn't playing defense back then.
Never asked an Alabama fan this question.
I've been one that in 2009 I was in college, so watching that game, that's when I really started getting exposed to what college football was about to turn into. Yeah. I believe that national championship game really started to turn the tide for things.
I've always said, so I need to watch that game with my older brain. I've always said, I think that game turned the tide either direction for both schools. I think it went positive for you all. And then I think it went negative for us because Matt Brown had other plans and that was a whole thing and it just didn't work. So anyways, I was just curious. So you said the strength of your team this year, I'm hearing you say it's going to be the defense. Yeah. And what would you say is a concern? What would you say is something that this year you're kind of looking at the team and you're like, I'm not really sure how this is going to work. I feel like it will work, but I'm just not sure.
More so, it's not necessarily a personnel thing, but just the biggest question Alabama has right now. The concern is how fast do we decide which quarterback is going to lead this offense if we're not going to utilize both in a consistent dosage or situational format. So I
Okay.
haven't seen Kalen DeBoer be one to be that type of quarterback or that type of offensive coach or head coach that allows that or has done that. But like I said, it's if Ty Simpson is who I believe he is, and I think he's a formidable quarterback to be in the SEC. I think he can be a top 3, top 4 guy if he just taps into what his staff and his philosophy has for him. I think that's the biggest question, and not necessarily a weakness, because he's a, like I said, quality quarterback. I believe any school in the SEC other than Florida, LSU, maybe Georgia and Texas. Well, Georgia, I think Georgia take Ty Simpson, but Texas, South Carolina, schools like that that have similar skill set guys that fit their systems would probably wouldn't go for Ty, but other schools in the SEC and across country would definitely get this guy. And then Keelan Russell, we know what type of talent he possesses, and it's just a matter of time, preferably Ty Simpson doesn't have to experience any type of backlash or negative downfall during the season, because I believe the leashes are short in a lot of spots on that roster. And those are probably the weaknesses, that you have so much talent lined up. You're really still indecisive of what exact product you want to put on the field.
Right. I could see that. And what makes the most sense? Like what goes best together. Okay.
Yeah.
What is one game on your schedule that you look forward to the most, and why?
More so, I want to say it's the one that I say I want to look forward to it because of how it turned out last year, is the Oklahoma game. A lot of
Mm.
fans are talking about Vanderbilt. I think Vanderbilt literally just out schemed us last year. And that's a testament to player execution, lack of player execution, and ability to just by a staff that was just really coming together at, 5th, 6th game of the season last year. So,
And their
but
third, to be fair though, Vandy's third down conversion rate
it
was
was,
insane
yes,
last
compared to
year,
the country,
and they
not
didn't
just in the
turn the
country.
ball over.
Yep. So
Like it's honestly, it's hard to beat any team that
yeah,
has that high of a third down conversion rate and doesn't turn the ball over.
you're right.
It's hard. So
I'm glad you
not
noticed
giving.
that.
Yeah. Well, because Texas, so for my channel, when I do my previews and reactions and things, those are like the deep dives I do into teams, because obviously I watch the teams
Right.
play and I take my own mental notes, but those I always look at, like turnover ratio, third down conversion rate,
Mhm.
and special team stuff. Like, where do you usually start drives? Because it's like those little bitty things that I feel like we don't talk about enough, because we're like,
Yes,
what does a quarterback look like? And it's like, sometimes it's not about that.
that part.
Sometimes it's like those little bitty details that we don't even think about, and then we lose the game, and we're like, how the hell did we just lose?
And
Like,
a
what
lot of
happened?
people, and I don't mean to regurgitate this, but last year, a lot of the field positioning things, the defense played solid. Field positioning is what determined play calling. You have a system that wants to utilize that 25 to 40 or the 25 to 30 area, that green area for the
Mm-hmm.
vertical pass threat. And that's what this offense tried to do. So a lot of your pass concepts in last year's offense were second and third phase, things that Jalen Miro couldn't necessarily process through early, later on in the
Mm-hmm.
season as teams begin to adjust to the scheme. Because I love the pass concepts that were thrown out by Nick Saban and some of the play calling, just the execution, even up front in the offensive line. I think we're going to be so much better there. And you say the game that I look forward to, Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma's going to be so much better on defense, and that new
Mm-hmm.
offense coming in sets you up for your defense to be tested. So I think that late in the season, that Oklahoma offense will be humming. They would have been up and down, whatever adversity they experienced or
Yeah.
whatever highs they experienced. Two teams that have a lot of time to prep for each other. I think that's going to be one that be watched because of how Alabama was performed last year away on the road, and then host them at home. And welcome to the SEC, Oklahoma.
I love that. Hey, we took care of business in
Mm-hmm.
Alabama. I'm just saying.
Hey, hey.
I'm just
I,
saying. I'm just,
I
I
can't.
just needed to throw that out there.
I'll congratulate you, but I refuse to congratulate the Longhorn fan
People,
base.
I know people do not like us.
Listen, y'all kicked in the dope, popping hot stuff.
We did.
Listen,
We are.
listen,
Like,
listen.
I think here's the
Everything's
thing,
bigger in
though.
Texas, and it's true,
Yes.
chat. It is
Yes,
everything.
and here's the thing. I think people need to realize that Texas was good. Like in 2000s, we were good. Like we had Vince Young. Before that, we went to the Rose Bowl. Before we played y'all that year in the championship game, we went to like whatever the second game of the championship game. We've been good for so long, and then when you're not and you suck, we knew we sucked. Like we knew. So now we're like, you remember what it felt like when we sucked? No. We're great. Like don't like. So
We're
it's like,
back. You know what?
yes, allow us to have our moment. Like, we need this. We have been dying for this for like 10 years. So
You
that's
know
why I
what's
tell people,
crazy? You say that, and I think if anybody should be able to be like in tune with success and be able to pop their stuff, if it's going to be a fan base, it can be Texas. You know, I can see a Texas or a Florida fan base still kind of living off of, you know, what was in the early 2000s, because that
right.
was areas where the college football game transitioned, you know, where it was
Yes.
turning points in college football. So
Yeah.
when I see Florida fans getting a little hype, they have reason to. When I see Tennessee fans starting to believe again, they have reason to. Texas fans, same thing. Oklahoma hasn't been off that much, and you know,
They'll
I don't
figure it
look at
out.
Oklahoma as a historically dominant program. They had times and points, but historically, I think they've been kind of like second tier. But you talking about tier one programs, I can see why Texas fans are excited. They have a lot of talent on that roster. We talked about
Yeah.
Texas, so
Yes.
I get it. I
And
get
and
it.
I also get how annoying it is to be the newbies and be like, screw you.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I
yeah,
get
yeah,
it.
yeah.
And then
That
people see
part.
the Lamborghinis, they're like, if you got to get Lamborghinis to get people, I'm like, it's freaking Austin,
Hey,
Texas.
you know,
Like,
Isaiah Bonds made me not like Texas even more. I just,
it's Austin, Texas. Like, if you listen, if you're listening to this and you've never been to Austin, Texas, I'm telling you right now, the second you get here, you will say to yourself, I totally get the Lamborghinis. I get it because it's very Austin. And if you've never experienced it, you see Lamborghinis and you think we're flashing something that it is just that's just Austin. Like, that
yeah,
is just so
yeah.
Austin. But Formula
I've
One
been in
racing.
Austin. I went to Austin for South by Southwest a few years, and
So you get it.
yeah, I was stationed in Killeen, Texas. So Austin and
Yes.
Sixth Street, that was my during football season. Sixth Street was my playground. You know, I loved every bar I went to in Texas for college football. Alabama and sis, I could pull out a jacket right now that I still have from 2011 and 2013 that I would wear every Saturday during the fall. Once that weather shifted around late October, when that weather shifted, that hoodie coming on. They knew when Hines and Kendrick was coming in those bars because we were at Bama. Oh man, it
I
was
love it.
good times. I love
Yeah.
Texas. I love Texas.
And that's what I always tell people. If you've ever been to Austin and if you get a chance to come to Austin and you rep your team, you know what? We don't care. We
They
love
don't.
that.
They
We love
invited.
it.
They
Like,
invited.
we love it. Come on,
Yes.
come to the tailgate, hang out.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
Like, and so I think people have this misrepresentation of who Texas is because we have come in loud, pushing doors
Yeah.
down. We're winning in softball, we're winning in soccer. Nobody cares about those sports, but we do. Like, we do, you know.
We
So
do. Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
So anyways, I can go on and on about Texas. This isn't about Texas, but I'm just saying,
Right.
like, let us be, okay? Just allow us our moment. Like, give us a minute.
Look, I ain't mad at you. You got to
Yes.
beat Bama for me to have a issue with it, and that's why I got an issue with Oklahoma. We see
Yeah.
y'all coming this year.
I got it. I got it. What game on your schedule do you feel like feels like a trap game or like a game that you feel like you don't like where it's at? You don't like when it's scheduled. You just, the game, you just see it on the schedule and you're kind of like, oh, I don't like that this is right here.
I got two, but one that I feel is more intricate and might impact us a little more. It's going to be Alabama at South Carolina. We're going to South Carolina after a tough win against LSU, I believe. I'm not
Okay.
looking at the schedule, but it falls right in towards the end of that gauntlet. And Alabama has two away games on the schedule that really, I think, if we're not playing our A+ game, these defenses and well, for South Carolina, their defense is going to be good. Lenore Sellens in that offense, he has some weapons, man. And by the time that we get to them at home, if we're doing like I expect us to do, that's a undefeated season up until that point. They're going to be up and ready. There's going to be a lot of hype around the game. You know, TV schedule and all that stuff plays a part into it. And it's going to be another big one for Kalen DeBoer and the staff to kind of step up and really show case, especially after the close game last year. A lot of experience coming back for both sides. I believe both teams have similar capabilities with what they have to offer. Not necessarily how they do it, but as far as record, production, and things, I think these are two of your more consistent teams in the conference this year. So that's one that kind of scares me and says if Alabama's going to for sure lose one, and I have to see it happening, like really matchups wise, unbiased, South Carolina is probably the only team on this schedule right now for Bama that I say can really trip us up and not necessarily kill our playoff hopes, but really, you know, put a dampen on the season.
Just give you a little bit of anxiety where you're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
we better win this one now.
I mean, I think everybody in the conference is going to have 2 or 3 of those games. I think you're only going to have one team in the SEC this year with one loss. Honestly,
Yeah.
conference loss. and I think you're going to have a lot of 2 and
Really
3
hope it's Texas, but we'll see.
We'll see. We'll see.
If your team could win just one game this season, just one game against a rival team, who would you pick that game to be? Like, who would you say, like, God, we got to at least beat those guys?
It has to be Auburn at Jordan-Hare. That's the second game on the season that scares me. Everybody knows what happens in Jordan-Hare. Well, I won't say everybody. Alabama fans and Georgia fans know the year they host us, the year where if Auburn beats Georgia early in the season before they see us, Bama fans, we get worried. And there's nothing that we can escape it. Like, and that's if you're a true Bama fan, you know this. You know, before Tennessee, we hosting Tennessee this year. We feel real good about hosting Tennessee any year. We don't care.
Okay.
But having to go to Jordan-Hare, that's one that really, I mean, even now I feel the goosebumps, and we're more than months away. For real, it's that juju over there is bad. And Bama fans, Texas fans, y'all laugh once you see this, whatever fans. But if you're a Bama fan and you see the look in my eyes, you know what I'm saying. But I think it's not just being in Jordan-Hare. Hugh Freeze has a quarterback that he feels confident about. But if that doesn't work out, he has a young guy that he can basically allow to play free in a extravagant offensive system. You got wide receiver talent all up and down the Auburn roster. Their offensive line is big.
Oh yeah, you picked Auburn. Did you pick that they have the second or the first? What
I said they would be my Cinderella team for this year. They might be the number 2 team in the SEC.
Okay, yeah, I heard that, and I remember you saying, "Okay, I'm sorry, I have to say this. I'm sorry, but I have to keep it real." So, okay.
Don't remind me. I don't want to do this on your recording now. I don't want to. You know what I'm saying? But sis, stop. Don't laugh. For real, if you look at their schedule, they have like if you hate Auburn, you look at their schedule and you're like, dang, they might actually run the table. They might actually be 11-1, 10-2, at worst 9-3. That's what I really see for Auburn. And
if they are, you're right. Like if they are, because now I've always said I think the SEC is going to have a 9-3, 10-2 problem. I've said it last year, and I'm saying it again this year because who are the losses to?
Yes,
and who's the team?
And when did you lose to them? That's going to. So. We're going to see how much of that balance matters when it comes to the SEC and those playoff spots, because I can't honestly sit here and say that a 10-2 or 11-1 Big 12 team is better than a 9-3, 10-2 SEC team.
Especially if that SEC team is Florida or Oklahoma, because they go through gauntlets. I mean, their schedules are brutal. So if they manage 9-3, I mean that's a really good feat. So and I don't care who the losses are to, honestly, because it's like the schedule is so tough. I'm interested in this next question. If you could have one person off of any college football team join your team, who would you pick and why?
Off of any college football team?
Any college football team.
To join Alabama right now?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, that's a tough one because I probably, and this is no slight at my roster, I love our secondary.
You're adding. It's okay. You're adding.
Yeah, and I love our linebacker room, and I love our defensive front. Offensive line is probably where I would go. Anybody particular, I would probably have to go for the young man that is out at Colorado, Jordan Sexton.
Jordan
Seaton, yeah.
Jordan Seaton.
Yeah, I would go after him. I just love how athletic he is. If we can get him.
Okay, first Jordan Seaton reference. Okay.
So I would definitely go after him just to get him away from prime and get him in a system where I think, that we could utilize his skill set and would really expose his skill set. And I love Coach Prime, man. I love what he's doing, but I don't think there's a lot of pro development traits in the offensive scheme or defensive pro development type of evaluation opportunities there. So I look at
if a Colorado fan watches this, okay, they're going to be like, "Oh, we're so relevant. Listen, people are talking about us." However, I want to say something here. I don't know if you've watched my spring reaction video on Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
I said the exact same thing about Jordan Seaton in my video. I'm going to send it to you after this. I said the exact same thing in that video. So listen, you're preaching to the choir here.
Wow,
so
that's crazy.
I hear you. And like I said, everybody, everyone's like, what do you know? You need to go cook, go to the kitchen. You're a woman. Why are you watching football? You don't know. Have you played? What position do you play? And I'm like, I have eyes and
Yeah.
I'm learning and I'm telling you what I'm seeing. I hope I'm wrong because I cheer for
Yeah.
Colorado. Like I watch them, like that's a team. I hope I'm wrong, but I see exactly what you see. So
And people, I think more recruits are starting to see that. They're starting to see what's really happening. And I mean, and everybody has a different path. Everybody has a
everybody has it.
different
That's
path.
fair.
Every program has a different opportunity, skill set, presentation, everything that they want to present. And there are multiple ways to get. There's not one right way to get to the NFL. My thing
Correct.
is for a skill set like Jordan Seaton, an athletic tackle, a guy that can play. You could throw him on the defensive side of the ball if you want to. That's how athletic he is. But as a
Mhm.
tackle of highly valued position, man, come to Alabama and you see what our tackles do. You see what happens when you go to Alabama and play tackle.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm kind of feeling like I can start to say that with Texas. I'm telling you right now, if in
True.
like 2-3 years, if Texas is like where I think Texas should be, people are going to be like, oh, here she goes with this.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, and I hate to admit it, just like with Auburn, the truth, when you're a fan in this industry, and now I'm getting more to the credential side of things, so you have to truly be unbiased when you're doing a lot
Yeah.
of these interactions. It forces you to really enjoy the value of the college football game because you're so limited with the NFL, but with college, it's still like you're seeing the last glimpse of what they were in high school or guys that you
Hmm.
didn't even know about, and then all of a sudden, wow, who is this? That
Yep.
you get to see that for 2 to 3 years now, and now with NIL, we're going to see it for it's going to get back to a 4 year game. I
And I'm
guarantee you,
excited
it's
about
going to get
that.
back to a 4 year
I'm
game.
excited about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And because I think it breeds better football, not just in college, but also the product that the NFL puts out. I think it just gets better. I think the quarterbacks get better. I think
Yes.
everything gets better, right? It's like your bodies, everything. It's like more of a flow, more of a yes. So I agree with you. I
Yeah.
agree with you on that. So my real final question is just like, what else should we know? Like, is there anything that I didn't ask you, anything that you're thinking about, like as you are thinking about Alabama, or when you think about them, is there anything that you're like, think about this? I don't think people know this, or just anything that you want us to know about this 2025 team?
I really think people are going to be surprised as far as our what happens in our trenches. Alabama traditionally was known for being dominant in the trenches on both sides of the
Mhm.
ball. A lot of people try to compare it during the Saban era, but if you really want to be honest, Alabama hasn't been dominant in the trenches since probably on the defensive side since Quentin Williams, and I want to say that was 2021, 2022, maybe
With
before that.
Will Anderson?
Quentin Williams, Will Anderson, I don't
When was
consider
Will
him a trench
Anderson
guy.
there?
He
When was
he
he
was
there?
I think he left in 23. I
Okay,
want to
so that
say
was
that
a
was
little
the
bit later. Okay.
yeah,
I'm just
but
trying, I'm tracking back.
I mean, even we had guys like Justin Boyd be come through, not necessarily pop on the scene in the NFL level, but guys that really can change the game. I think this is the
Yeah.
year Alabama really sees that defensively and offensively. We're talking about the 5 guys on the offensive line are draft eligible, receiving, PFF grades top 20. 4 out of the 5 guys were top 20 PFF offensive linemen for eligible draft next year. So a lot of expectations there. I don't think people have seen the Alabama trenches at this level in years, and that's what's going to be the catalyst to the success of this team. I really think they're prepared for a great push. I think the schedule lines up with some of the opening weekend against Florida State, who I wouldn't sleep on if you're the natural fan or just the casual fan that thinks Alabama's going to go in and dominate this team. I think this would be a perfect test for this team. The scoreboard probably won't show it, but there will be things that you'll be able to learn about this team early on that I think are going to turn on a switch, and people are really going to see what this team is made of. And Kalen DeBoer is really quiet right now, real direct, real straightforward with interviews. I think he knows he's had some special brewing, and watch out, college football. There's a lot of teams out there that have the buzz and all of that. I really believe teams like Alabama, teams like Florida, they're real this year. South Carolina, I think they're real this year. And then there's teams you got to be scared of. Auburn, Texas, Oklahoma, teams that you got to really worry about if they
Yeah.
figure it out in the
If they
SEC.
figure it out.
Yeah, it can get dangerous. So, and then you got teams that you expect. LSU. LSU is one of those teams. But I really think Alabama, out of all those teams that I named, I think Alabama is really set up the best. They're
Okay.
set up the best to handle what they handled last year in the transition. 9-3 regular season, 1 game out of the playoff, or well, a technicality out of the playoff, and 1 game out of the conference championship. It you got to expect them to continue to build if they returned everything that they did from the spring everything crossing through. I like where we sit right now.
I like it. So I usually like to end on my guests. So whatever you want to say at the end of this, we'll end with this. I will be honest. A lot of people have asked me questions at the end of this. I wasn't expecting that. I'm just calling that out because I never open it up for people to ask me questions. I never think people want to know anything from me. So there's that. But I will say one thing is, are you purposely not mentioning Georgia's name at all?
I'm just not excited about Georgia.
Okay.
I'm really not. I think Georgia fans are louder than what they usually are because they know what's up. I think they're barking out of fear.
You think we can beat them in Athens is what you're saying. That's what I'm hearing.
I feel Georgia's losses, and this is for every Georgia fan. I'm talking to you directly, and I have a lot of close friends that are Georgia fans. I grew up in Phoenix City, Alabama. It's literally on the line of Alabama, Georgia. Columbus, Georgia is the major city next door, right? And everybody in Columbus is a Georgia fan or Auburn fan. If you're from Phoenix City, you got a few Alabama fans in Columbus, but Phoenix City, we Alabama, Auburn. You got a few FAMU and Alabama State, A&M. We got that, but major programs, Alabama, Auburn. You cross that water, it's Georgia. Barking, mutts, smell like wet dog everywhere. I can't stand it. But I've always gave them their respect when it came to football, especially since Kirby's been there. Kirby's been the guy that I love since his time with Saban. So I just think they're in their first time under Kirby, where he's going to have to put together his best coaching job. And big game Kirby is not a big game guy. Anytime he's had the matchup where it's been even, Kirby's he's faltered. He has been outcoached and had plenty of opportunities to separate himself from that, and he hasn't yet. Last year was a prime example. So I think this year's just not good for them with everybody in the SEC getting veterans like he had last year.
Yeah. All right. Well, I just wanted to mention it. So it is what it is, but we'll end on you. Anything else that you want to share? Anything you want anybody to know or questions? That's so weird for me to be like, do you have questions for me? Like, I
want to know where you see Alabama. Give me your synopsis of Alabama this season. I got time. We said we had a time. I got time.
No, now you have time when it's
I want to see, because you have a very interesting perspective about everything that we've kind of mentioned, and it's crazy to hear it from a woman's perspective. And it's not like I hate when the college football fan base as a whole doesn't accept the words or the knowledge that's being put out or the perspective because of the tone. You get what I'm saying? Because if I was saying what you were saying, I would be getting clips and everything. But you saying it really has some substance to it. So I want to get your perspective on Alabama. Where you see with my Roll Tide? Where you see with my
So how I evaluate football teams is I focus on offensive line first, because I believe the offensive line is the most important spot on the football field. I will argue somebody down about a left tackle being more important than a quarterback. That's how important I feel like the offensive line is. So the one thing I know Bama has is a solid offensive line returning this year. So I love that. I think that that's fantastic. And then if you go to the other side of the ball, so I think the closest you are to the ball, the more important you are. Everybody's important, but you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of how I'm gauging it. So then when I flip to the other side of the football, I really haven't seen Alabama be like great there yet. Like, I feel like last year when I would watch, it was like they started off strong and started off great. And then by the second half, it was like everybody kind of had figured it out, and it wasn't that great. It didn't really do much, didn't move many people. So I don't know the players because I haven't done my own like deep dive and research of that. So, but that's something that stood out to me from last year. I'm hoping that it transitions into this year. I was watching the transfer portal very closely for Alabama in the spring. Nothing happened. I love that.
Zero.
I love that. So I think that also adds to, okay, if I think that everyone's going to get 2 points better, let's just give them 2 points, then the defensive line should be fine. And then the linebackers have always been great. The rest of it will play itself out, but I think that matters. And so when I look at Alabama, my biggest concern is quarterback. Do you have the talent? Yes. Who is it going to be? What is it going to look like? And are they going to be ready for the moment? Because I think, as much as everybody says about Arch Manning, like, cool, people aren't talking about Texas's defense. And I think if your defense is stellar, that helps your offense. And I think if Alabama's defense can step up and help that offense, like, I like the way Alabama looks this year. I just don't know as much about the quarterbacks as you probably do. So I don't know their limitations. I don't know if I just don't know. So that's why for me, I'm kind of like, I'm not sure where to place them because I'm just not sure what they're going to do. And again, I don't know. Obviously, the guy from Duncanville, obviously, like I saw him play at Duncanville, all the things. Like, obviously, I'm in Texas. Like, I got it.
Yeah. That boy is special.
Yeah, and I just don't know like I feel like it's like the quarterback position doesn't matter to me as it matters. But then I don't know. Like, I honestly just don't know. And then I always think, because similar to us, right? People will be like, well, if Arch Manning is so good, why couldn't he beat out Quinn Ewers? On the flip side of that, you could say the same thing about the quarterback from Alabama that was there. If Jalen Miller was so terrible, why didn't he come in? And so again, sometimes football fans only make an argument for one team, but they don't then use that same argument for the next team and then that same argument for the next team. They only use an argument that works for that situation to win the argument.
Right.
And so when I'm looking at Alabama, I'm just like, that offensive line is going to hold. I believe in it. If the defensive line is better, nobody left in the transfer portal. So they like something's going on. You said in this conversation, they have 80% of production returning. That's probably one of the highest percentages in college football. I could be wrong, but it seems pretty high. So I like that. So if I wouldn't bet against Alabama, and I don't know your schedule. So obviously that's another thing. I don't have the schedule pulled up. I don't have all the details. I also am a little bit of a nerd when I look at schedules because I look at who the team played before they play your team. I test them. What is going on? What does it look like? What does it feel like? I watch football and watch all the nuances. If said guy gets hurt and he's laying on the ground, who's going to check on that guy? If no one's going to check on that guy, we have a team problem, right? Like I look at the little like things that a lot of people are like, that doesn't matter. And then the end, like they're pissed at me like week 3. And then by like week 10, they're like, you said that in week 3. And I'm sorry that, and like, that's how I watch football. So I don't know any of those details, but without schedule, just based off what I think, I wouldn't bet against a team that has a solid offensive line and 80% production returning. That won 9 games.
Yeah. And that's the big thing. A lot of people and that's why I try to tell people this team won 9 games with, let's try this. Okay, that's not working. Well, let's try and see if it's going to work till the third quarter. All right, then now let's watch. Let's that could have worked. Oh, wow. We should have did this in the first quarter. That happened in like 3 or 4 games, I believe, last year. And 2 out of those 4 games, we saw the results. Vanderbilt, I believe, was one of those games in Tennessee. And in the Oklahoma game, it was just a lack of execution, a lack of focus, it was just an ugly game, uncharacteristic game. So you have 1 or 2 of those in a year. You expect to win, come out and get off of one, and then the next one you might lose it. But you can't have 3 or 4 of those and expect to come out on top if you're not putting a consistent product. But to have that type of results last year, the staff did a job. I will give them that. And like you said, with the schedule, I pulled it up and I'm looking, like I said, it's one of those things. You starting off.
I want to throw that caveat here about recruiting that this take is, people are going to be so annoyed with me that I'm going to say it. But I'm one of those people that I feel like when everybody's looking at how pretty the picture is, I'm taking a step back. And I'm just going to say it while you're looking at that. I get worried in this era when teams are loading up on recruiting, because I am wondering if those recruits have gone there and they say to themselves, I'm better than that guy. I'm better than that guy. I'm probably better than that guy. And if they feel that way, I don't know how I feel about that. And so I always have this weird thing with recruiting. And just so you know, I'm looking at Texas this year, and I'm looking at the recruits that they got in 2022. And I want to see 2022, 2023. And I want to see if those guys are starters or if those guys got their positions taken by a 24, 25 guy. Yeah, because I think I'm an NFL woman. I love the NFL. One of the things I've learned about the NFL is you see the strength of your team by how you drafted a couple of years ago. The new guys are plugging and playing. And so if I take that same philosophy and apply it to college, that means I'm going to see who's starting from 2022, 2023 for Texas this year. And I'm going to see if 2024, when I think we were 3rd, and then last year we were 1st, I want to see if those guys are going to come in and take these guys' spots. Because if they are, how good were these recruiting classes?
Yeah. And
Now,
see,
if I'm
Alabama.
wrong, yeah, and if I'm wrong, right, and those 22 and 23 guys start, then it's not true. So anyway, so that's something I'm thinking about too. When I look at recruiting, I'm just kind of like, why would you want to go sit somewhere unless you walk in and you're like, yeah, he's big and he's strong, but I can
Yeah.
outwork that guy.
And I think with Alabama, the transition helped that, we saw a lot of guys in the secondary transition out last year. They were not going to be able to play for Coach Mo and Coach Colin Hitchler, who was the safeties coach and assistant defensive coordinator last year. He's transitioned out, but they weren't going to be able to play in the scheme because of what was required and how Coach Saban recruited for the secondary. So you saw a mass transition, but you saw guys from those recruiting classes that kind of fit the newer age DB that Coach Saban was trying to usher in and transition to. You see those guys stick around and they're thriving. So you make a great point when it comes to recruiting, and then you look at how much roster change Kalen DeBoer and this staff have tried to alleviate. They haven't hit the portal crazy the last 2 seasons. They haven't had to go crazy with trying to convince guys to stay. And a lot of those guys from Saban's last number 1 recruiting class are now your red shirt sophomores, your juniors, your fourth year senior guys, and that's a great thing to see. That's why I say Alabama's in a better position than most people want to give them credit for. They're not rebuilding. It's kind of like just turning over to a new way of doing things. And if they were able to kind of carry it to a 9-3 last year, still holding on to some old assets that probably don't fit the new car or the new piece on the car, if they were able to do that at a 9-win clip, I don't think they rescind from that to me. And this is a favorable schedule for Alabama. This is a favorable schedule. Florida State, ULM, Wisconsin to start the week, the season off. You get a bye week before you go to Georgia. You get Vanderbilt at home. We go to Missouri in Columbia. I think that might start off funny, but it's going to be a good one. T-Town at home against Tennessee. South Carolina, that's the one I told you I'm worried about the end of October. You get a bye week before LSU and all the talent that's surrounding Nussmeier and what they're going to have. Then you host Oklahoma at home. You get and that's a homecoming game. That's going to be a big one.
Helps.
Eastern Illinois, and then you got to finish the season at Auburn. A favorable schedule, two on there, 2 or 3 where you're like lock in, but the rest of them you feel like this team should be able to handle it based off of the product from last year. So I think you're spot on with your analysis of my Crimson Tide.
My team. Yeah. I mean, like I said, we always say, right, this is what we think on paper because this is what our brains are telling us on paper. We haven't seen a single snap, a single down. And I think people need to remember that. This is all like what we think and feel based off what should happen by what the paper is telling us, by what stats are telling us. So it's like, everyone's like, but you said, I'm like, yeah, but that was just like, we didn't see anything. Now I saw it and it ain't good, Yep. Like last year I had to do that with Texas. I'm like, I'm worried about this defense. I'm worried about this defense. Oh my God, this offense is going to be great. As soon as the season happened, I was like, excuse my language. Fuck that. Yeah. That is not it. Okay. The defense is amazing. This offense. It's like everything I said in the offseason, I was wrong.
Yeah.
And so like,
and it's funny, you experienced it on that level. I experienced it with our secondary. I was looking at the type of talent and the scheme that Kane Womack had been running from, times he was at Indiana, and I'm like, bro, if you just look at skill sets, if you know football and you watching this player and you turn on the film, I don't care what level ball he played at, you look at skill sets, you look at things that the scheme is asking him to do. If a coach can understand that and put guys in the spots where they need to be and they're comfortable, you're going to see success. That's why you saw 4 true freshmen in Alabama's defense last year. They are now preseason second team All SEC, first team All SEC. I think Xavier Brown ended up being on the all freshman SEC roster from last year's squad. Just so many guys. And then young guys like Bray Hubbard step on the scene. He's a first round projected safety, the number 4 safety for eligible safeties, above Caleb Downs, a guy who transitioned out of Alabama. So the system is working. I'm like you. I look at recruiting. I look at fits. I don't necessarily look at names all the time. I look at fits. I look at skill sets. And Womack is he was smiling when he kept a lot of those guys from last year's roster. So I think you're spot on. I think you're spot on. It's great talking ball with you. I know you keep trying to get me to shout things out, but I'm honored to be here, sis. Like for real. I hope when you put this one out, people really see the quality of conversation you create because it's good to be hosted on the show and not be on the show and be like carrying it. So I really appreciate what you do.
I appreciate that. I always tell people Because you know by now, like I just reach out to people and I'm like, hey, I've watched some of your stuff, love to collaborate, love to have you a part of this. And I obviously I can talk football, and it doesn't have to be my team. I can talk about anybody's team. Like, especially if you give me like a solid 30 minutes, I can pull up with some things that you will be like, how did you know that? Where did you come from? And I look at football different. I'm a woman. I think women naturally look at things differently. But I think what makes me, I love it. Like, I absolutely love it. And so it's an honor for me just to be able to talk to people that want to talk to me about football. Because you'd be surprised if how people are like, no, thanks, I'm good. And I'm like, all right, that's fine. But then other people are like, yes, let's chat. And so thank you for just like talking to me and being like, no, she's cool. I'll talk to her. It's fine.
And if anybody's watching, man, y'all got to get past this narrative that women don't know sports. A lot of things that you see happening in the world of sports is being impacted by some very influential women. And with this being a sister, man, you know, I gotta show love to my beautiful queens, man. I love y'all, man, and I love to see this, the boldness in this industry. You gotta be able to walk. It's another young lady, Jaisha. I think that's her name, Nance. She works with Tide 100.9. She's really stepping out boldly into this industry and doing things outside of the box, and I love it for how you guys are making moves. So if you're watching this, continue to support this content. I think this is a great idea. I don't have the mental capacity to do it because I like to debate. And if you're saying some outrageous stuff about your team, I don't have the professionalism to sit there and let you do it without some rebuttals. You carry your stuff real good, so keep doing what you're doing.
Mad at me too. They're like, "How did you not push? How did you?" I'm like, because this isn't my episode. This is your episode. I'm just here to facilitate it. Like you could have said Alabama was going to the national championship. You know what I would have said? All right, like if that's how you feel.
Yeah.
Like, cool. So anyways, and I have to also talk to a Georgia fan. I have to talk to an Ohio State fan. I have to talk to an Oklahoma fan. And you know, I kind of feel it away, but that's okay. Because I'm just kidding, but I love all fans the same, and I think it's fun. And I get just as much joy of watching other people's teams too, watching my own. So anyways, well, thanks for being here. I'll end this recording. I appreciate you. All of your stuff is going to be in the description box below. Thank you for showing love, and thank you for being supportive. And I just appreciate you. I'm sure we'll collaborate on something, some way, 100%. Somehow.
We definitely getting it in during the season. I have a great idea that I want to run by you. We're putting the last little bits and pieces together. Should be able to ready to present it. We won't be strenuous. I think it'll be a lot more natural and easy to collab with. So hopefully we can get it done and kick it off this season. I think you're going to be a perfect fit for what we got going.
Okay. Maybe stay tuned. All right. I'll talk to you soon. Oh, wait, you got to give me a Roll Tide. I mean, come on.
Hey, and yeah, make sure you follow your boy on every platform at Coach Smoot. That's the easiest way. They call me a recruiter insider, football insider. I just know what I know. I do what I do. We network, and our main goal is just literally trying to help these young men get a different aspect on how they can present themselves in the social media space and networking and doing all of these different things to help them create value for themselves at the next level. And then on our aspect, we just get access to the real information, and we're not going to sugarcoat it, whether it's in favor of something that we are hoping for or not. So that's how we're trying to just impact the industry. So just follow your boy, Coach Smoot, on all platforms. And when you see me in the streets, you better holler at me and say, put me in the game, Coach Smoot, because that's how I'm going to know you really rocking with me. So appreciate you, sis, again. And Roll Tide, you know.
There it is. I love it.